Today, we are going to explore a scenario as brave as it is terrifying. Imagine achieving what seems impossible. Outsmarting the most secretive regime in the world and escaping from North Korea. You feel the air of freedom, believing the nightmare is over. But what if that was just the beginning of a new hell? A labyrinth where freedom is a much crueler trap than anyone dares to tell. This is the harrowing reality faced by North Korean defectors, where escaping one prison is just the first step into another. Section 1. The origin of the escape. To understand why someone would risk their life, you first have to understand what they are fleeing from. Life in North Korea is not just one of poverty. It is an existence of absolute control. Every thought is watched, every word is a risk. From birth, they are indoctrinated to worship the Kim dynasty as living gods. There are no individuals, only a collective subjected to the leader. And the punishment for disloyalty is unimaginably cruel. Under the 3 generations of punishment policy, if a person commits a political crime, such as attempting to flee, not only they are condemned. Their parents, children, and grandchildren are dragged with them into brutal prison camps. There, death by starvation, torture, or execution is not a possibility. It is routine. On top of this oppression comes economic desperation. Decades of isolation and disastrous management have unleashed cyclical famines that, by some estimates, have claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands, perhaps even 1 million people. For many, the decision to flee is not political, it is survival. When your children die of hunger before your eyes, the risk of a bullet at the border begins to seem like an option. But crossing that border is only the first step in a labyrinth of horrors. Section 2. The Route of Bones. The logical destination for a defector would be South Korea. They share the same language, the same culture. However, the border that separates them, the demilitarized zone, is the most fortified on the planet. A deadly field of mines, electrified fences, and millions of soldiers. Crossing it is a suicide mission. That's why the escape route for the vast majority of defectors is north, into China. The journey begins in the icy waters of the Tuman or Yalu rivers. They must wait for the cover of night, dodging North Korean patrols with shoot-to-kill orders. But if they make it, they don't find safety. They find a new kind of terror. China is a deadly trap. The Chinese government does not consider them refugees, but illegal economic migrants. This is a death sentence. If caught, they are deported back to North Korea, where torture, concentration camps, or public execution await. In recent years, Chinese surveillance has become almost infallible, with facial recognition cameras and massive detention centers. In hiding, fugitives fall into the hands of brokers or human traffickers. These charge thousands of dollars to guide them. A few are altruistic. Most are criminals who exploit their desperation. The figures for women are chilling. It is estimated that up to 80% of female defectors who reach China are victims of trafficking. They are sold as wives to men in rural areas or forced into exploitation in cybersex networks. They become slaves, trapped between their captors' abuse and the fear of deportation. Those who manage to avoid capture begin the next stage, a journey of thousands of kilometers into Southeast Asia. Hidden in trucks, walking through remote jungles, they cross countries like Vietnam and Laos, where the risk of deportation remains constant. Their final destination is Thailand, the first country on the route that offers a real chance to seek asylum at the South Korean embassy. After a journey that can take months, or even years, they finally board a plane to Seoul. They believe they have reached the promised land. But soon they discover that the cage they left behind had many forms. Section 3. The Trap of Adaptation. Upon landing in Seoul, the relief vanishes within days. First comes weeks of interrogation by the National Intelligence Service. Their goal, to rule out that they are spies. Once cleared, they are sent to Hanwon, a resettlement center, for 3 months. There they receive an intensive crash course in capitalism. How to use an ATM, what a credit card is, how the internet works. But 3 months cannot erase a lifetime of trauma. When they leave Hanwon, the real shock hits. They go from a society where the state decides everything to one of the most competitive and fast-paced cultures on the planet. The overload of choices, the pressure for money, and alien technology paralyze them. And then, they encounter the invisible walls. Discrimination is systematic. Their North Korean accent gives them away instantly, and many South Koreans see them with prejudice, as second-class citizens. Finding a job becomes a losing battle. The educational gap is an abyss. The unemployment rate among defectors is nearly double the national average, and most end up in precarious, low-paying jobs. But the most dangerous prison is psychological. The loneliness is absolute. They have left their entire families behind, with no hope of ever seeing them again. They live with the torturous guilt of knowing that, most likely, their loved ones are being punished for their escape. On top of this comes severe post-traumatic stress disorder, the result of the horrors they have witnessed. This storm of isolation, discrimination, and trauma has lethal consequences. The rate of suicidal thoughts among defectors is double that of the South Korean population, already one of the highest in the world. In 2019, the country was shocked when a defector and her 6-year-old son were found dead of starvation in their Seoul apartment. They had fled famine in the north, only to starve in the heart of capitalism. Escaping from North Korea is an act that pushes the limits of human endurance. But freedom is not a destination reached by crossing a border. It is a brutal process that they must build from the ashes, almost always, in the most absolute solitude. They fight against the ghosts of their past and the demons of a present that does not welcome them. They face a world that does not understand them. Their story shows us that freedom is not just the absence of physical chains, but the presence of opportunities, of acceptance, and of peace of mind. They escaped from a prison of walls and wire. Now, they face a prison in their own minds. Is this the freedom they risked their lives to find?